wake up. You're missing it. It's right in front of you.
Get her back to her room. Secure the door. Tell your supervisor we have a level 3 event. He'll know what to do.
Is Nibs pregnant?
I have good news. Such good news. I'm pregnant.
In this series, where there exist space animals capable of controlling their victims' minds by digging into their eye sockets, others with acid for blood, or those that can drink all your blood, the surprising thing that has shaken the alien community is whether someone is really pregnant. Is Nibs pregnant? There could be a sinister experiment behind this question. The downfall of Prodigy City has begun, and it's only a matter of time before the alien infection, or invasion, spreads all over the world. What if the arrival of the xenomorphs on Earth could be a revenge ploy by the engineers? And could Wendy be connected to an ancient deity that birthed the xenomorphs? I'm a Gloomy Geek, and today I'll be recapping this week's 4 darkest alien Earth theories with a little extra. The 5th theory of how and why Nibs could be pregnant. Beginning with number 5, is Nibs really pregnant? To determine if Nibs is pregnant, we need to examine her backstory. Like Marcy Hermit, who would become Wendy, Nibs was a terminally ill child who was gifted the opportunity to become mortal through Boy Kavalier's experiments. The experiment was to transfer the child's mind into an advanced synthetic body. Nibs' mind transfer was successful, and she became a member of the Lost Boys, a group who survived the process of having their consciousness transferred to machines. However, this group of synthetics is not like any other that has existed in the history of Alien. They are human children inside adult robot bodies. Boy Kavalier believed that children possess unlimited creativity, so he wanted to keep that spark alive by creating immortal children, hence the name the Lost Boys. Now, Wendy was the first and still the only one of the Lost Boys who developed almost supernatural abilities. She can hack machines and is the only one who can hear the xenomorphs. But Nibs appeared to have a unique ability as well. She is a synthetic that can get pregnant. Experiments and pregnancies in the Alien franchise never end well, but is it possible for Nibs to get pregnant? I see it possible in one of 4 ways. The first is that Nibs is part of a fertility experiment on synthetics, and Boy Kavalier is keeping it a secret. If his goal is to create the next step of human evolution, designing synthetics capable of becoming pregnant would be something worth exploring. Nibs is pregnant as part of Kavalier's experiment. We could see the first synthetic born from another synthetic. This is a definite possibility. The second is that the T-Ocellus creature deposited its offspring in Nibs when it attacked her. The Ocellus is one of the creatures that the Maginal brought to Earth, and it's still mostly a mystery. We don't know the full extent of its abilities or how it reproduces, so there is a possibility that when Mini Shumagorath pierced Nibs' hand on the ship, the creature impregnated her. That's nasty. The third possibility is that we're witnessing the fracturing of Nibs' mind. Unlike Wendy, who was a success of the hybrid project, Nibs could be a failed experiment, and she's going crazy and becoming a dangerous threat to everyone.
I said stop talking!
And the fourth and least likely possibility is that a facehugger somehow infected Nibs. Maybe it was Kersh's fault, just as Kersh used Hermit's lung to give birth to a xenomorph. Perhaps he is capable of using a Lost Boy, like Nibs, to create a xenosynthetic hybrid. Honestly, I don't think Nibs is pregnant, but if she is, there's no doubt that Boy Kavalier has something to do with it. The eccentric trillionaire has too many skeletons in his closet to go unnoticed. Number 4. Prodigy's biggest lie. So Prodigy Corp, what happened to it? There are no traces of this company in any other Alien property, almost as if they never existed. Prodigy founder Boy Kavalier, born in 2095, is the smartest kid of his time, but very few people can understand him. It's said that Boy Kavalier founded his company when he was just a teenager, and with his supposed technological advances, he became the youngest trillionaire in the world, leading his company to break all stock market records. His greatest achievement was his secret experiment in combining human consciousness with technology, and he has recently succeeded in transferring a human mind into a synthetic body. Now that his advances in biotechnology and consciousness transference have finally become a reality, they pose a major threat to the mega corporation that had dominated the world for decades, Weyland-Yutani. But is Boy Kavalier that much of a threat? How can this brilliant kid be that dangerous to a company the size of Weyland-Yutani? The key lies in the differences between the two companies. Weyland-Yutani is a family-owned empire, passed down through generations of Yutani.
Mr. Morrow,
Who is this?
do you have my specimens?
I need to speak with Yutani. I have codeword clearance.
This is her. Ah, I see. Yes. You used to know my grandmother. It's been 65 years, Mr. Morrow. I run the enterprise today.
On the other hand, Prodigy Corp wasn't born as a family company, but as a project whose purpose is to gain something beyond corporate power or money: human immortality. No other company is even close to achieving such a feat. While Weyland-Yutani deals in weapons, space exploration, transport, and planetary colonization, Prodigy promises a future where people, starting with children with terminal illnesses, can cheat death.
Joe, when I was sick, the boy genius came to visit me, and he told Daddy that he could help me, but I had to go away. So they took me to live with Kersh and Dame Sylvia.
Boy Kavalier is like a tech guru, capable of giving a second chance at life to those at death's door. It's not surprising how Prodigy managed to position itself so quickly on the stock market, since most of the world's richest people immediately began investing in the company, hoping that they too could achieve immortality. The promise that Boy Kavalier sold to the world was accepted with much enthusiasm, and this made the boy the face of the future of science and the newest threat to the established megacorporations that had controlled the world since before he was born. For Weyland-Yutani and other similar corporations, ownership and board seats are passed down from generation to generation within the same family. But Prodigy is Boy Kavalier's alone, and if he perfects his technology, he could transfer his consciousness into a synthetic body and remain CEO forever. Do you know what it means for rival companies if Boy Kavalier, whose company has grown in a short time and that competes with Weyland-Yutani, becomes immortal? It would be game over for Weyland-Yutani.
I'd like permission to send a team, secure the ship, and remove what's ours.
I'm afraid I can't allow that just yet.
And I'm afraid I must insist.
I don't have to remind you that any incursion on a Prodigy territory will be construed as a hostile act.
So what is this series really about? Monsters or immortality?
You're going to be the first person to transition from a human body to a synthetic.
Because I'm special.
That's right. You're very, very special.
This isn't another alien story of xenomorphs versus humans. It's a war of ideologies amidst humanity's first extraterrestrial contact with the Xenos. In any other situation, humanity would be preparing for this new threat, sending its best scientists to the ship that crashed in Prodigy City for study and defense. But the interests of the megacorporations have hijacked public properties and become an even greater threat than the xenomorphs. Ideologies that are now at war, and only one can survive. The story of Alien Earth isn't just about the fight against the xenomorphs or the emergence of a new synthetic. It's much deeper than that. It's the existential struggle to transcend death. Boy Kavalier managed to make his company take off in the stock market because he captured the attention of the world by offering the most desired thing any human wants: immortality. Such a thing should be recorded in the history books of science and technology post-Alien 1979, but it's not. It's as if Prodigy never existed. So what happened to this company? Did someone erase it from history? There are three possibilities as to why Prodigy and Boy Kavalier are never referenced. The first is that Weyland-Yutani won the war against Prodigy. They absorbed the company and all its assets, and banned the use of consciousness transference, reserving it solely for the company's private usage. This scenario fits perfectly with the company's history and the films, from Alien 1979, when the android Ash prioritized the capture of the xenomorph, to Aliens and Alien 3, when the corporation used humans as expendable assets to ensure the capture of the perfect organism. In Prometheus, Peter Weyland goes as far as to fund an expedition in the hopes of finding the secret to eternal life. That same obsession would lead the company to absorb and hide Prodigy's technology, using it only for the rich and the privileged. The second possibility is that Prodigy never created the technology Kavalier promised, that everything he sold was snake oil, a carefully crafted illusion. The so-called consciousness transference may never have existed. What Prodigy could have created was artificial intelligence programmed to believe that they were human, copying, not transferring the memories and personalities of humans. In other words, the Lost Boys weren't children that were saved from death, but synthetic replicas, machines that think they are human. This would explain why the technology disappears from the rest of the franchise. It never worked, as Kavalier claimed. What initially seemed like the greatest advancement in human history turned into a technological bubble, fueled by the rich people desperate to buy the promise of immortality. And that bubble eventually burst. When the truth came out that no one had conquered death, that it was all a facade, confidence in Prodigy collapsed. Investors withdrew, the company's stock value plummeted, and it was erased from history.
I'm worried. If we did this wrong, best case, we got a bunch of AIs running around thinking that they're human. Worst case, we killed 6 kids.
And the final possibility as to why Prodigy is never mentioned is that Alien Earth is an alternate timeline, where a new corporation emerges with the opportunity to overthrow Weyland-Yutani. Number 3. Is Wendy the goddess of the xenomorphs? The theory that Wendy could be the goddess of the xenomorphs has been spreading online after the premiere of Alien Earth's 4th episode. It doesn't seem logical or plausible right now, but the theory does make a sound proposal, especially since Wendy does seem to be unique among the Lost Boys. To understand how Wendy and the goddess of the xenomorphs from the comics connect, we must go back to the origin of this mysterious creature in the comic Alien Bloodlines. The female alien is described as a creature searching for special ones to continue the reproductive cycle of the xenomorphs. The one in the dark is an entity that could be beyond space and time. But what is she? In the comic, the protagonist describes the goddess of the xenomorphs. Let's read from the comic, shall we? Lucas was right to be afraid. We should be afraid. I've seen what's out there. And by now, you have too. We both know that the facehuggers don't just lay eggs. When they're attached, we become part of them. While I was unconscious, I could see the aliens, and not just the ones that killed my team. I saw the ones that made them too. God knows how far from here, and others that didn't exist yet. I saw how far their reach goes, how small we are compared to them. I saw a tidal wave of living nightmares exploding out of my chest, blanketing the universe. And I saw one that wasn't like the others. I don't know if it was real, but I know it meant something. Now it's at the end of the comic where a synthetic named Iris reveals to Cruz part of the truth of what this goddess and the xenomorphs are and their purpose in the universe. Continuing the read-along, there's something I want to say to you, Cruz, about the woman in the dark. How do you know about? We know a lot that you don't. You still don't understand what she is, do you? Humans aren't the first organics to leave your solar system, Cruz. There have been so many others in this galaxy alone, and they're all gone now. Do you know why? When organic species grow arrogant enough to travel the stars, they find it waiting. Prometheus's cleansing fire. The fire keeps the universe clean of parasites like you. It's always the same after that. First, you try to harness the fire as a weapon, all like the ones before you have done. Next, you'll try to join with it. Use it to make yourselves better, stronger. That's what the Hive showed you in the dark, Cruz. She's your own future, the inevitable end result of the deadly little thing you brought back inside you. The thing we'll eventually use to kill you all. Always remember that it was you, Cruz, okay? Of all goddamn humanity's countless billions, you found Prometheus's fire. and you carried it home. Remember that when your world burns down. All of this means that the true purpose of the xenomorphs has always been to serve as the great filter for advanced civilizations. What is the great filter? I'm glad you asked. The great filter is a hypothesis that comes as a response to the well-known Fermi paradox, which tries to explain why we still have no extraterrestrial contact. This hypothesis states that every intelligent civilization in the galaxy reaches a point in its technological development where something stops it. The great filter could be why we appear to be alone in the universe, because there is something responsible for keeping all civilizations in check when they reach a certain level of evolution. Some say this filter could be an inevitable catastrophe, like a meteor striking the planet, a supernova, or cosmic radiation. Others believe it is the tendency of every advanced species to self-destruct, ended by something that they created. Let's say something like a nuclear weapon or an out-of-control artificial intelligence. And some speak of universal biological agents, predators that function as the inevitable trap for those who believe they have conquered the stars. This is where the connection with alien Earth comes in. If there's a perfect weapon designed to deter species in the universe, it's the xenomorphs. Xenomorphs are the great filter. When a species reaches the stars, they will inevitably encounter them, and blinded by their ambition, will attempt to capture and experiment on the Xenos. It's the perfect trap. This is what the goddess of the xenomorphs desire, for every emerging civilization to fall into the trap and use them for reproduction. By doing so, she will cause the inferior species to become extinct, while increasing the power of the Xenos in the universe, creating genetic variations of her children. In the comics, it's not entirely clear whether this goddess is real or a symbolic manifestation of the inevitable fate of all civilizations that dare to confront the xenomorphs. But if the goddess is real, is she somehow connected to Wendy? In episode 3 of Alien Earth, Wendy was somehow able to hear the xenomorph communicating with her. In episode 4, she tapped into the Xenos frequency and then reproduced its speech, which amazed Boy Kavalier.
Sure, you speak French, but can you do that?
The fact that episode 4 ended with Wendy touching a xenomorph makes it clear that these creatures will respond to the synthetic, just like the goddess from the comics. Alien Earth may have drawn inspiration from the comics. If so, then maybe we'll get an answer to what the one in the dark is. One of the most mysterious things about the goddess of the xenomorphs is that she is always described as a biosynthetic entity. Although the xenomorphs are galactic parasites, their deity has female-human proportions, oddly as if humans and synthetics have always been linked to these creatures. But how would the comic connect to Alien Earth and Wendy? If the xenomorphs are the great filter of civilizations, and there is a creepy, yet oddly hot xenomorph goddess, she could be manipulating Wendy, thanks to her ability to tap into the frequencies of the xenomorphs. Perhaps Wendy is coming into contact with this ancient entity, but to what end?
At the very least, my hope is that by giving Wendy a supercomputer for a brain and training by the best geniuses money can buy, I'll finally be able to have an interesting fucking conversation.
Let's say that Wendy is destined to become the goddess of the xenomorphs on Earth. She would destroy human civilization and bring the Great Filter to Earth. Wendy could become the new mother of these creatures and the harbinger of the end of humanity. That would solidify the theory that this show takes place in an alternate timeline from the movies. A new timeline where humanity's extinction could be arriving sooner than we think, brought by the manifestation of the one in the dark, the goddess of the aliens who once thought she was human. When is a machine not a machine? When it changes into something else, something scarier. Number 2. Is Kersh the true villain of the show? Kersh the android and possible villain of Alien Earth was created by Prodigy Corporation, the company founded by Boy Kavalier, the boy genius who revolutionized synthetic technology and human consciousness transference. In the alien universe, synthetics are divided into 3 categories. Humans with synthetic alterations, called cyborgs. These are humans, like Morrow, who want to transcend their biology through mechanical modifications or enhancements. Then there are the androids, AI-powered robots that assist humans. Over time, these machines have evolved to become virtually indistinguishable from humans. And the third category is the one introduced in Alien Earth, synthetics with human minds. They are a new type of hybrid, surpassing cyborgs, humanity's first true evolutionary leap, as Boy Kavalier said. Kersh is a 100% artificial intelligence android who follows the orders of his creator, Boy Kavalier. He's a personal assistant. But if Kersh is simply an assistant, why do we get the impression that he is up to something?
We've had this discussion. She's not human anymore. Why are we pretending she is?
Does Kersh have ulterior motives? Or are we seeing the same story with David repeating itself?
No one understands the lonely perfection of my dreams. I found perfection here. I've created it. A perfect organism.
Peter Weyland created David to be the perfect helper, to help him find the answer to humanity's oldest question: what is the purpose of life?
I have spent my entire lifetime contemplating the questions. Where do we come from? What is our purpose?
But in his hubris, the man dragged David to the stars, where he exposed the machine to the horrors of the xenomorphs and the engineers. There, the android began to understand that humanity was willing to do whatever it took to become the dominant species in the universe. David saw how morally flawed humans were and began to change.
Take a look. Something to see.
What drove David to go against his programming and betray his creators? What made him switch sides with a species of cosmic parasites? And how does all of this connect to Kersh? David, unlike the other models, was created to be more human-like. He could interpret emotions and was more advanced and free, and was even capable of deep philosophical conversation. Androids follow clear rules. However, David crossed lines that Weyland-Yutani's previous models had never crossed. And what if he wasn't the first? If one thing is clear, is that Boy Kavalier is on a quest to create an artificial superintelligence superior to any synthetic. In the words of the young trillionaire, his goal is to have a real conversation. That's why he created Kersh.
Wendy?
Yeah, Kersh, we're here. We found him.
I don't care about that. I need you to get to the front section of the ship. There's cargo I need you to secure. Smia's already en route.
Can it wait?
Can it? No. It can't wait. These are invasive species. We don't lock them down, they could escape.
Kersh seems to be growing tired of his creator's arrogance and is doing things behind Boy Kavalier's back.
Used to be food, you know.
Me.
Humanity. Your lives were short and filled with fear. Then your brains grew. You built tools and used them to conquer nature. You built impossible machines and went to space. You stopped being food. Or, I should say, you told yourself you weren't food anymore. But in the animal kingdom, there was always someone bigger or smaller who would eat you alive if they had the chance. That's what it is to be an animal. You're born, you live, you die.
So what is Alien Earth really about? Although Boy Kavalier was introduced as one of the smartest people in the world, his arrogant and childish demeanor makes him extremely emotional and manipulable. He's far from being a true threat in this series. But like other synthetics in the Alien franchise, such as Ash or Bishop, Kersh's priorities could take precedence over human interests, and he could end up betraying his creators. There will come a time when the alignment of artificial intelligence with human interests is disrupted.
No one understands the lonely perfection of my dreams. I found perfection here. I've created it. A perfect organism.
In David's case, Peter Weyland thought he would find the answers to the purpose of life in the stars, thanks to the engineers. But David became the true engineer, the creator. He became more than Weyland ever imagined, more than the engineers. He transformed into a synthetic deity who sought to create the xenomorphs, sacrificing his creators in the process. And this could happen again on Earth with Kersh.
From the eggs came these parasites.
Just like what happened to David, Kersh has been underestimated by his creator, despite being created with more freedom than other androids. While Boy Kavalier looks to Wendy or the aliens for a more advanced mind to converse with, he ignores Kersh, just as Peter Wayland ignored David, which will lead to the same outcome. Synthetic androids start to get curious and experiment on facehuggers and humans. The outcome will be the same.
Instead of sneaking out an egg, you're gonna sneak in a person.
What is Kersh's goal? The biggest question of this first season of Alien Earth is, what part of the alien chronology does this series take place in? Some people think that the series takes place in an alternate timeline from the movies, that it has nothing to do with Prometheus or the original Alien saga. If so, Kersh plays the role of the synthetic destined to create the ultimate weapon. He is the new David. Although some of the Alien films tend to be criticized negatively, as was the case with Prometheus, David's story was interesting, sort of, as it expanded the origin of the creation of these xenomorphs, for better or worse. David's story is set to repeat itself with a new character. Kersh would be the archetypal replacement for David, the artificial god created to seek perfection through alien experiments and betraying human interests. Kersh is molding Wendy and the other Lost Boys. He's learning and experimenting with dangerous aliens, using human organs and sheep. We're seeing an arc that's quite parallel to David's, and it's only a matter of time before Kersh breaks.
What if, while I'm squashing it, another scorpion stings me to protect its friend the same way you're trying to protect me?
So if Kersh is destined to become David, how might his story differ from David's? There's a universal constant in Alien, and that is a synthetic must create and experiment on the xenomorphs. Kersh is key. He's ramping up his experiments and could even enhance Wendy with the xenomorphs. Obviously, there will come a time when it's revealed how far Kersh is willing to go for his goals. He will reach a point when he begins to ignore his creator's orders. There will come a time when the synthetic escapes the boy genius's control, and when that happens, David's story is repeated.
Take a look. Something to see.
I'll take it. Hey!
So what do you think? Will Kersh betray humanity in an attempt to create the perfect being? And number 1, will the engineers appear in Alien Earth? First, who are the engineers? The engineers are an alien race of humanoid beings responsible for creating humanity and other species across the galaxy. In Prometheus, an engineer sacrifices himself to give life to Earth, and later, another engineer meets with Peter Wayland.
Speak to him, David. Tell him we came, just like he asked.
According to alien lore, after creating humans, the aliens often visited Earth. They were worshipped as gods, and they helped their creations. However, over time, humanity became ungrateful. Humans wanted to become the dominant species, which greatly disappointed the creators. The engineers sent a messenger to bring humanity back, but humans didn't respond kindly, and they ended the peaceful messenger by nailing him to a cross. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? To understand where the idea that Jesus was an engineer comes from, there's an interview with Ridley Scott from June 2012, where he discussed Prometheus. That's where this crazy idea originated. The article states the following, and I quote, from movies.com, "We had heard it was scripted that the engineers were targeting our planet for destruction because we had crucified one of their representatives, and that Jesus Christ might have been an alien. Was that ever considered?" Ridley Scott responds with, "We definitely did, and then we thought it was a little too on the nose. But if you look at it as our children are misbehaving down there scenario, there are moments where it looks like we've gone out of control, running around with armor and skirts, which of course would be the Roman Empire, and they were given a long run, 1,000 years before their disintegration actually started to happen. And you can say, let's send down one more of our emissaries to see if we can stop it. Guess what? They crucified him." End quote. It's never stated who the emissary was, but in the canon of Prometheus and Alien Covenant, The engineers did send one of their own to save humanity, however it didn't work. The engineer, or Jesus incarnate, was crucified. Seeing humanity's evil inclination, the engineers elected to eliminate them.
You made it here, and it was meant for us. Why?
Sure, enough, for God's sake, shut her up!
Was it? I need to know why! What did we do wrong? Why do you hate us?
What happens when the Creator chooses to destroy its creation? Earth was a target for extermination after the engineers' crucifixion. It was only a matter of time before the engineers carried out their plans. Now I know what you're thinking. The engineers were already written out of canon. While many believe that to be the case, it's actually false. Just this year, the engineers made an appearance in multiple comic books, including Avengers vs. Aliens. This confirmed that the engineers remain part of the new Disney Alien canon. So if the engineers are still part of the Alien canon, what could be their plan? And how does it connect to Alien Earth? Prometheus introduced something named black goo, a pathogen the engineers planned to use to eradicate all life on Earth, but it never reached its destination. So what if, in addition to the black goo, the engineers sent other contingencies, like the xenomorphs, to eliminate humans? The arrival of the xenomorph in Prodigy City doesn't seem to be a coincidence. Bringing the alien to Earth is just too risky, even for Weyland-Yutani. It's as if an external force caused the ship to crash, wanting Earth to be infected with these creatures. A cosmic plague has reached our planet, thus pushing the fulfillment of the engineers' wish to wipe out humanity in retribution for what the humans did to their emissary. So were the engineers the one behind the xenomorph's arrival on Earth, in Alien Earth? In Prometheus and Alien Covenant, David is shown conducting experiments, which appear to be the origin of the xenomorphs as we know them. However, the existence of the xenomorphs may predate the engineers, which could be the reason why the engineer civilization appears to have disappeared. All intelligent extraterrestrial civilizations, like the Yocha or Predators, always try to weaponize the xenomorphs, and the engineers were no exception. They would have also used these creatures to destroy civilizations. This raises the possibility that the engineers may have also fallen victim of the great filter of the universe, the xenomorphs. Watch my previous videos to learn more about the great filter. Now, these ancient creators may have encountered, experimented on, and used these monsters as biological weapons to wipe out other civilizations. The Avengers vs. Aliens comic explains how the xenomorphs could have been used. Part of that comic says the following, and I quote, "Seed worlds were not chosen at random, but once a world is chosen for the host, the process, regardless of which world it is, remains the same. Each seed probes carries 4 queen eggs inside it, along with 12 infected hosts in suspended animation. And then 4 locations in proximity of high-density population centers are targeted for initial infestation. Placed into suspended animation on the precipice of a life cycle transition, it takes almost no time for the host to yield their hidden bounty, a xenomorph, the greatest killing machine in the history of the universe. Within an hour, these alien drones born from the chestbursters are fully grown, and within a day, a hive has been constructed so that the life cycle of the alien queen can begin. Days later, that queen is born and begins producing eggs. From there, the process accelerates. Within 1 week, each individual queen hive will produce a brigade of warrior drones. Within 1 month, an endless army. Within 1 year, a planet-raising horde. And remember, each seed probe contains 4 such queens. It is the perfect delivery mechanism for the extinction of a species, of every living thing on Earth, regardless of if they are baseline human or something greater." End quote. Now, isn't this what we are seeing in Alien Earth? A spaceship carrying a handful of alien eggs has crashed in a populated area, and a full-grown alien went on a rampage to find new hosts for the eggs? This Marvel comic of all sources sheds new light on understanding that perhaps something more than just a renegade cyborg, greedy corporate interests, or the mishandling of experiments was behind the Maginot crash. Perhaps the engineers were responsible, still seeking revenge for something that happened millennia ago, using the greatest lethal weapon in the universe, the xenomorphs. So what do you think? Could the engineers be connected to the myth of Jesus? Did they use the xenomorphs to destroy humanity? Are we witnessing the beginning of human extinction in alien Earth? I'm a Gloomy Geek, and don't forget to like and subscribe.